Hello and welcome, my beloved Juicy Life leaders from around the world, to our weekly community empowerment training today on April 27th, 2021. Today we are talking about how to take a stand as a leader without polarizing. And why did I choose this topic? Hello, watch the media, read the news, go onto social media, and there is polarization and polarizing rhetoric everywhere. And I got triggered last week by a friend who I know didn't mean harm to me, didn't want to hurt me, but this person said a very polarizing, short, strong sentence about my gender, and I knew not to take it personal, and still it bothered me that she used this kind of polarizing rhetoric, and that made me decide I need to teach you about that. I need to take a stand for a style of communication and languaging which is aligned with my core value, which is love, and which is aligned with my vision of a world that works for everyone. And I believe we will not get there when we use as leaders a communication style, a language, a vocabulary, which is creating polarization among people. So today, I'm already hot, so today will be intense. I might make comments which some of you find political or don't agree with, and that's all okay. For me, being political is not something I'm scared about. I believe as a leader who takes a stand for a positive alternative world we are creating together, just being that is a political stand. So you showing up here, choosing to get empowered to be a leader for a different kind of world is, in my understanding, already a political act. I hope I'm not scaring you now away, but I just want you to understand that I'm not scared to be political. I will not pursue any political career, but for me as a leader, when you step into the limelight of the public, everything you say or do is watched by so many people, and just that fact turns it into something political. Because when you go back to the word of politics, it comes from polis, which is from ancient Greek. It's a city, it's a public, it's a public eye. And we are living in such dire, difficult times globally that for me as a leader who loves to embrace responsibility, not being political, for me personally, is not an option. For me, it's not an option. Yes, I live in a private, gorgeous bubble here with my husband, 2 boys, in a gorgeous mansion and a gorgeous piece of paradise here in California. So privately, I'm in a private, wonderful bubble. But through my outreach and through what we are doing here, I'm literally stepping onto a world platform using YouTube to take a stand that an alternative reality is not kumbaya and woo-woo. It is a possibility. We all have the power to make a difference. And I'm so excited to have you joining me here today to learn, it sounds so paradoxical, how to take a stand without polarizing. Because even that title, some people's brain perceive as a polar, as a contradiction, as something you can't do. You can't take a stand and not automatically polarize people. And I'm not agreeing with that. And in the last days, I had so many discussions with my husband and also friends live and on Zoom about current politics. And the rhetoric of polarization is hurting. It's hurting a lot of people. It's hurting people's lives. It's hurting the economy. So it's a big problem in my eyes. So I'm so grateful that you are here. So let's learn. And I have prepared 3 bullet points. And as I said in our little first meeting here, we might not get through all of them today. So there will be maybe a part 2 to this training. So first, I want you to translate what I'm going to say in something tangible for yourself. What does it mean to take a stand as a leader? If we were now physically together in a workshop room, in a conference center, I would do literally physical exercises with you so that you can sense it in your body. In order for me to see you and stay connected, I will stay sitting. But if you have the space and you want to do that, you can also turn off your video and stand up now, because I will guide you through some metaphors, through language, which have to do with the body. And I believe that true learning, lasting deep learning, only happens when the body is involved, when we embody what we hear and what we understand. So you are invited to use your body. I will use my body now in the next minutes for what I'm going to share with you, but I do it in a sitting way because I tested it. I stood up and then you all look against my belly and my lower half of my boobs, which makes me uncomfortable, and you don't see my eyes, so it's a bit awkward. So I stay sitting, but you are invited to stand up, and in order to feel safe and not awkward, you can turn off your video for the time, or you stay sitting and follow along. So the first distinction, for those of you who are often here, you know I love distinctions. Distinctions are words which we very clearly differentiate from each other, define clearly, and by using these distinctions, we can open our perception and see things in our world and environment which we couldn't see, which we would be blind for if we wouldn't have that distinction. So the first distinction to the whole concept of taking a stand and what it means is inspired by an author who you probably all know. He became famous in the late 30s. His name is Napoleon Hill. He wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, which probably everyone has by now read. I have a different book of his, which I prefer, which is my favorite one from his books, which is called Outwitting the Devil. Outwitting the Devil. And in that book, he is using a term I never heard anyone else using. And he talks about the drifters in life, drifting. And this is now where our body comes in. I want you to feel into it. So drifting means you go through life and you're not taking a stand. You are literally not knowing exactly what you want. You don't know where your true north is. You don't know your values, but you hear from society all the shoulds and the rules and what you should be doing and thinking and operating and the expectations from mom and dad and your teachers and your religious shamans and priests and then politicians. And so the drifters, they are the ones who are thrown around like in a tumbling machine, and they are drifting through life and they are reacting to everything, to social media, to the news and what the big guru says or the big media outlet, Fox News, ABC News, Wall Street Journal. So the drifters, they are drifting through life, which for me, per definition, is exactly the opposite of what I hope you all are striving to be. Because for me, leadership starts with, from being a tumbled around, following the push and pull of society drifter, to take a stand, to stop, to become still, and to listen. Not to all the external voices first, but to your heart. Close your eyes and take your heart in your hands and listen. Leaders are not drifters. Leaders stop. And taking a stand starts literally with stopping. You can't take a stand as long as you're still wobbling and drifting around. Can you sense it in your body? Can you sense a difference from stopping, connecting with yourself, listening listening to your own heart, your intuition, your soul, your higher guidance, your higher self, whatever you like to call it. Some of you have religious roots. Maybe you are following Muhammad or Jesus or Buddha. For me, it doesn't matter. For me, it's about, are you willing in the cacophony of push and pull of society to stand still? Taking a stand starts with standing still and listening inward. Did I say inward? Listening where? Listening to what? Inward. Yeah, thank you, Christiane, for taking that stand. Yes, and feel, put your feet slightly shoulder width apart with the toes pointing outward and feel taking a stand. And people always ask me, yeah, but Sylvia, I don't know for what. What shall I fight for? What is the stand? What is the party I should vote? You don't need yet to know the content, for what you are taking a stand. Just taking a stand is already a revolutionary act in a world where most people, the majority, over 90%, are drifters, people pleasers, following the yelling of external voices. Just stopping and taking a stand and saying no to being a drifter is the first level of taking a stand. You don't yet need to decide what to rescue, the whales or the rainforest or orphans, or you don't need to decide that yet. It's not about that yet. Taking a stand needs courage. And it doesn't mean here, big distinction also here. People tell me a lot, and I suffered my whole life from anxiety. I still have anxiety attacks. I know how it feels to have PTSD in my bones. Having courage doesn't mean to live without fears. Courage means to act and take a stand despite the fears. And it's nowadays we have daily gazillion opportunities to take a stand. And I do it a lot. And it stresses me a bit because I still have fears. And I give you a few very practical examples, which are small. They are not changing the world, but they bother me. They are working in me. And I want to make it tangible for you so that you are understanding. I'm not talking here philosophical, abstract stuff. And if you are standing, you choose how long you want to stand and allow the words I'm giving you, the teaching, to move through your body so that you can feel it. Or if you want to sit down and take notes, you decide. You are the leader. You are in charge of your own learning experience here, not me. Don't turn to a drifter who is pushed and pulled along by my voice. You are the leader. You take a stand by standing, or you take a stand by sitting. It's your choice. So one situation, for example, in the moment I have is I'm in many online groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and app groups, and different learning communities. And in one of my learning communities, which is a women's focused one, one of the overall goals is to live and operate in a non-patriarchal way. And one of the members, who is quite known in that group, who is an expert, and I cherish her, she shared with enthusiasm a program from, and here in the United States and worldwide, a big guru, and I will not share his name because I don't want our attention to go to him, but he shared an opportunity for people to join a free training by one of the teachers of this mega guru, a mega opportunity. I saw that and I was happy for her, her enthusiasm and the opportunity for everyone. And yet I know this guru. I know some things about that guru. I have experienced him live where he let his ego take over and took people apart in front of my eyes. in my perception, this man did a lot of good in the world, but he's also in this gray zone, sadly, where the power and his ego go into a zone where I believe he is serving an old, outdated patriarchal model of operating, and not what our group, where this opportunity showed up in, is standing for. So long story short, online in this long stream of positive rah-rah comments about this opportunity, I ask myself, okay, what do I do? Do I ignore it? It's just, I mean, it's online. It's just a comment. I could just put it aside, but I couldn't. There's something in me when I see something which is in contradiction to my values, it's very hard for me to just push it aside and overlook it. Do I take a stand in the middle of 30, 40 positive comments about this guru worshiping him and tell people, hey, this guy is a misogynist. He takes women apart in public. He is a bully. And I know a friend of mine who works in his company, who is a father with children, who is waiting since 3 months to get his salary from a guy who is known to be a billionaire. So long story short, I took a stand and I shared my perspective. And I tell you, that was not easy for me because I didn't want the woman who shared that opportunity with enthusiasm to feel hurt. I didn't want to polarize her. I didn't want to obviously polarize a whole group and be thrown out of the group as a mean girl who poops into the space, right? So these are the things. They seem to be tiny, but for me, they are important. I still have not yet heard back from that woman who shared the first post. I will tell you next week. But I shared openly with using what I teach you later, gentle vocabulary, trying to differentiate, acknowledging that guru, because at the beginning of his career, he was one of my self-development gurus too. And I read his books and loved his books. So I tried as much as I can to live what I will teach you here, differentiating, not making generalizations, not declaring this man is a misogynist, but just sharing my experience where I watched him acting in such a way, which, et cetera, et cetera. So taking a stand, especially in group environments, takes courage. I felt it. It was stressful for me. It's still a bit stressful for me till this is resolved. I know the woman who posted the first post is okay, and maybe she's not. Maybe because we had another clash with something else a few months ago, so maybe she will never like me. So that said it. Taking a stand needs courage, and you need to be willing. You need to be willing to receive pushback, criticism, and the loss of relationships. That's just a fact. I assume when I could be a fly on the wall in a private space where this woman is talking about me, that she will gossip pretty nastily about me, because we had already a clash in another group, she and I. Because in my eyes, she's a so-called, I call them patriarchal daughter. A woman who is still fully engrossed and ingrained in the patriarchy and still in the path of admiring the strong father bully kind of figure for whatever reason. I don't know her well enough, but that kind of woman and we have a tendency to clash. So is that comfortable? No. I want everyone to love me. I don't like conflict. I don't like tension. So I give you this here so honestly and personally so that you understand being a leader is not always comfortable. Sometimes it really, really sucks. Taking a stand is sometimes really even dangerous. There are public situations, especially right now in the United States, on the street, on sidewalks, at traffic lights, where there are conflicts with police, etc. Who has the courage to jump into these kind of heated, dangerous situations where there are even weapons involved? Taking a stand can be dangerous. Does it mean we shouldn't do it because it's dangerous and uncomfortable and can cost us worse? Of course not. Yes, Shuya, so happy to see you.
I
Please.
just want to add one thing. You said that you should be willing to lose relationships when you take a stance. On the other hand, there will be opportunities to embrace new relationships also.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Just wanted to add this comment. You
Thank you
know,
for underlining positive. Yes,
like-minded people will come along.
that's true. That's true. And this is now the perfect bridging. Thank you, Shuya, to understand, and you can make even maybe write it in like 2 columns, the drifter and the leader, because we have in corporate functions or in politics, we have official leaders. You know, for me, there's a difference between people being officially in leadership positions and really being true leaders. There's a difference. So if you have a drifter in a leadership position, how does that show up for the people around them and inside the organization? They are, in Germany, we call it, they are like a fish. You understand that metaphor, the fish, like you can't, the employees, the team members, they never feel safe with them because they don't know what is that leader standing for. They are like a flag in the wind is another metaphor, or these floppy fish, which you can't hold. The fish is always, it's always flitching from your hands. So a drifter in a leadership position is really dangerous and demoralizing for the team and the people working for him or her, because they are perceived as unsafe, as untrustworthy, as unreliable. People just don't know when someone is not taking a stand for anything, what to rely on. Because maybe they take a stand for 24 hours, but then the corporate wind and politics change, and suddenly the next day they take a stand for something different. And on Monday, a different stand than they had on Friday. This is cuckoo making. This is the kind of drifting leadership which has destroyed corporations all around the world. And sadly, in the moment, some countries. I mean, when you have a drifter in a leadership position managing a pandemic, the whole country is F-upped. Yeah, I mean, what we see worldwide right now in some countries, the situation with the COVID management, the vaccine management, oh my gosh, I could cry and barf and start shaking. It's horrible because they were too scared to take a stand early on in the pandemic to do what's right, even though it's hurting and politically unpopular. If you have politicians who just do what's popular for their constituents and who vote for them, you are in a dangerous place to live in. So this is the drifter leader. And then we have the leader, the juicy life leader, who is willing to take a stand, which makes that person, man or woman, clear, understandable, trustworthy. It's something where people can lean on. It's like when you are privately in a horrible, emotional, fragile state and you have a friend or a wife or a husband or a lover, someone close you can totally trust and can lean on and put your head on. We need leaders who take a stand so that we know whom we can trust and whom we can rely on. So that is all about taking a stand. And my invitation is a bit of a homework. If you know, it's sometimes hard to listen here and translate it immediately, but I hope after our session, also if you like to rewatch the video, the replay on YouTube, to ask yourself right now in your life, in your work environment or in your family environment, where are the hot topics right now? What are the things brewing and broiling around you where people are scared? I mean, right now, if we had a magic big instrument to measure the stress and fear level in the world, hell yeah, the stress level and fear and anxiety level is through the roof globally. And every person who is willing in this storm to take a stand for something becomes this rock where other people can lean on for just a few moments and see the light in the end of the tunnel. I mean, this is horrible. I'm trying in the moment to learn about history and other crisis phase, like the Spanish flu 100 years ago, or the Big Depression, etc. And I'm trying to understand the patterns and how long things last and how long is the traumatization. Because yes, the pandemic, the hot phase is 2, 3, 4 years. But what about the long-term effects and the traumatization? I mean, our world is changed forever by this tiny virus and its mighty powers. So leadership and taking a stand is like a medicine right now for a lot of people. And sometimes it starts with something small at home, where you, when there's a conflict in your, excuse me, in a family, you take a stand in alignment with your values and your heart and become a rock for your family members and stand still, even though your legs might be shaking and you're nervous and it's scary. Before I go into the topic of polarization, any comments, any ahas, any shifts around taking a stand you would like to share with me? I would love to hear maybe one voice. Christiane, my dear, I saw you nodding a lot. Do you have a comment or an echo?
Yes, thank you. First, thank you so much for your speech, and I'm so excited to follow you. And as you know, I'm working with leaders a lot, and this is my business. And you are totally right to take a stand and take the responsibility. That means that you have to know who you are by yourself. This is the first, that you are in connection with yourself. And this is a part, the gap in between, that most of the leaders are ashamed to look inside themselves, that they think they don't have to look inside because first they have to do that and then they can go beyond and then they are the rock. And this is a little gap what I mentioned, what I get in my experience, that they have a fear about it, to come in contact. This is so easy, but there is a big, big fear. Till it comes to the stand, which, you know, I do that. I was standing in the north. You know, my standing means that I have to stand in the north part of my medicine wheel. And yeah, it takes courage. And it's still, for me, it's goosebump when I was standing here now with your words. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. What you are saying is crucial for everyone to know, the connection with ourselves. This is what this is one of the core pieces I'm training you here every week, because the patriarchy, its core roots, I tell you again and again, so that you really, really start to see it and experience it. There are two roots of the patriarchy. One is scarcity mindset, scarcity thinking, the lack of resources, the fight over resources, scarcity. And the other one is disconnection. Disconnection of our mind, of our brain with our body, our mind disconnected from our heart, our left brain hemisphere disconnected from the right brain hemisphere. Disconnected from other people, everyone disconnected from planet Earth, everyone disconnected from the divine. This is why we need religion, to break the bridge between the humans and the divine. We discussed that here in a very small group on Sunday in my open house. Disconnection is the power the patriarchal leaders use to keep people separated. This is why polarization is a perfect bridge, Christiane, here to our next topic, why the rhetoric of polarization, who uses that? Watch the news. Politicians are using rhetoric of polarization to keep people separated because they are cementing their power. And here in the United States, we had master example in the last 5 years here. Polarization is a technology. Polarizing people is a technology for patriarchal people greedy for power. Yes, Shuya, my dear. Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Couple of comments. First thing is that this polarization is, as you rightly said, is a typical patriarchal uh, technique or approach, divide and rule. You know, you see it a lot in the corporate sector as well. People, they use it as a technique to rule, you know, consistently by dividing people, you know, under them. This is one thing. Yes. On the another comment on, you know, taking a stance. You know, you need certain, and please tell us more about that. I think you need certain guiding principles around which you build your stance. And you need to be very clear on those principles. And one of the approaches that you are also preaching is anti-patriarchal guiding principles, right?
Yes.
So in the patriarchy, you need to have different guiding principles around which you can take your stances and you can bring a change, you know, around you. That's it.
Perfect.
Please,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. I will probably make next week or in 2 weeks a training about that, because it would deviate time-wise too much today. But for those of you who are here live and those watching the replay, I have a online page, public, free, available, where I have a few infographics and a bit of text explaining my philosophy. Not saying this is the only right one written into stone, but my perspective. If you go to juicylifeleader.com/philosophy, juicylifeleader.com, one word, /philosophy. If one of you could type this here also in the chat box, this would be great. Chat box would be great. juicylifeleader.com/philosophy. And I will make a training in latest 2 weeks about that. For now, taking a stand is based in what Christiane you so beautifully underlined, is reconnecting with yourself. This is when we did the mini body exercise. I ask you, literally touch with your hands, your own body, hold your heart, close your eyes, go inward and listen, because we all, when we do that, we can connect literally through our body with our internal guidance system. And this is something I teach in my other training bi-weekly on Tuesday and Friday, the compass training. Yeah, because we all, I believe, we have an internal compass which shows us personally very clearly what our north is. It was my compass, my needle freaking out when I read this kind of discussion about this guru training opportunity in this women's online group, where I didn't want to go there, because I know it will stress me for a few days. It will have some ripple effects where some people, some women in that group, Shuya, they will like me more, but some people in this group, they will, you know, shut me off. But my inner compass was like vibrating. I could not follow that. So without going into the explicits of comparing patriarchal and non-patriarchal guidance principles, which we will do in 1 or 2 weeks, just know for now, you all have access to your inner values. For me, the compass, which guides us, are for me the values which are inside of you. And also on the juicylifeleader.com webpage, when you go to curriculum, /curriculum, there's another infographic with a beautiful big tree, where you see in the tree, the roots are society, culture, religion, and lineage, your family generational lineage, etc. And these 3 roots run into the trunk of the tree, and the trunk are the values. The values are creating the trunk, which carries the whole canopy of your leadership evolutionary path. It's your values. There's a huge difference if if you, and this is another training, just as a side note yet, because I have to stop it time-wise, your values are giving you your inner compass. And also make sure, if you want to be part of the compass training and get my e-workbook and self-assessment, the Juicy Life Leader Compass with 21 categories to assess yourself, go to juicylifeleader.com/compass, and there you can download it for free. It's filled with art, designed to balance your brain hemispheres and trigger emotions and give you access to your subconscious mind. And those trainings will be like this one live, and the replay ends in the same YouTube channel, but it has its own little sub channel. Okay, let me take a deep breath and a sip of my vitamin C. Time-wise, I think, let's check. Yes, let's go into the polarization and the vocabulary we probably will do next week. Polarization is rooted, and I make it very simple, is rooted in binary thinking. It is rooted in ancient Greek logic, mainly in Aristotle, and it assumes that the world is literally black or white. It's 1 or 0. There's only 2 alternatives. It's polar, which we all, when we think consciously about it, know that this is not true. There are always, did I say always? Always more possibilities than 2 in any given situation. But using polarization sounds like this, when Bush said a few years ago, they are either with us or against us. It's yeah, you either love me or you hate me, or you are either good or bad. Yeah, and the motivation why it is so attractive for a lot of people's brains, it's subconsciously attractive, because as faster technology evolves in the recent decades, people become more and more stressed by simply overwhelm. Overwhelm is one of the main answers when people are getting asked, why are you stressed, or about what are you stressed? It's overwhelm. It's just too much information, too much to do, too much different opinions, too much different answers. It's just too much, overwhelm. So the brain loves simplification. The brain loves if there is a leader who simplifies complexity. If there's a leader who takes a stance and makes it very clear, oh, pandemic, no problem, I have figured it out. It's easy. We just have to do X, Y, Z. People love that. Oh my gosh, there's daddy. Yeah, it's like the daddy figure most of the time, very rarely a mother figure. Oh my gosh, daddy is explaining us the world and makes it simple. And now I can let go of my fears. I just need to follow daddy and I know I will be safe. So polarization is neuroscientifically, it's a brilliant tactic, because it satisfies people's desire to feel safer in an otherwise overwhelmingly complex world. So polarization is attractive. Polarization is easy. You just create 2 opposing forces. Yeah, this is either good or bad. Yeah, we go left or right. You are with us or against us. Yeah, it's black or white. Yeah, it's above or below. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it's either or. So it's attractive. It's easy, but the cost, especially as a leader, and here it comes what I said in the invitation. Ultimately, for you, and this is a bit part of the homework, it's important to know, what do you want? What is your dream? I mean it seriously. What is your dream? Because most leaders I work with, they dream of a better world, which is a complex, big task. And most people I know, they dream of bettering the circumstances of themselves, their families and others, their communities. Again, this is a complex task. complexity and big problems globally, like the pandemic right now, climate crisis, migration waves, wars, historical cleanup of genocides and politics, etc. These are complex problems which need creative solutions. Guess what? Creativity is not possible or stimulated or empowered by polarization. Creativity is messy. Creativity is multidimensional. Creativity is complex. And creativity gives birth to new things. But when we use a rhetoric of polarization, if we keep everything neat and tidy and above and below and left and right and black and white and for me or with me or against me, there is no creativity. There is no real progress. There is no real possibility of the fulfillment of all our big complex dreams. And that is why I say, for drifting leaders, polarization is a cool, attractive tool. But for juicy life leaders with big, ambitious visions and dreams, polarization kills the creativity which we need to get to our dreams. Christiane, my dear, you had an impulse. No, you didn't raise your hand. No.
I totally.
Awesome. Shuya, can you hear us? You dropped out. Are you okay?
I lost the internet for the time being.
Yeah, I saw 2-3 people suddenly dropped out, and before you came on, I was fallen out. So today it seems like the whole world is maybe overstretching the capacity of the internet. So you're back. That's awesome. So to summarize it quickly, polarization serves the brain's desire for safety through the reduction of complexity. Polarization is easy. Polarization is attractive, and drifting leaders, the drifter kind of leader, they love to use that because it makes their power games more easy and more effective. And especially in politics, it keeps people polarized, and then people are more busy fighting each other versus questioning the drifter leader, which is all part of the game. And juicy life leaders or leaders who take a stand, they know that polarization is literally collapsing the space, the brain space. It's killing, is shutting down the space of creativity. And we all need a wide open mindset, heart set space for creativity to find solutions for the complexity of our current problems, like climate crisis, migration waves, wars, cleanup of old genocides and mispolitics, etc., etc. Creativity is the #1 leadership skill, officially, according to Harvard Business Review, Gallup, and all the other old traditional institutional leadership expert castles, as we say in Germany. And these are patriarchal old institutions, and even they, this makes me so happy, even the old established here, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all those established patriarchal leadership institutes, even they are admitting that creativity is the #1 skill of leaders at the start of this century. But creativity is the opposite of thinking in polarization. So that's the content from my side for today. We will have part 2 next week, where we go into the very practical vocabulary, like in the language. What is the language a drifter leader uses to incite polarization? And what is the vocabulary, the sentence structures and the words a juicy life leader, a non-patriarchal leader, a leader who takes a stand without polarizing will use? And I promise you, it's super simple. It's just needs a focus and a bit of training of ourselves. And I will share then a bit more personal stories, because I realized that last year during the election, can you hear me? Am I frozen? Christiane, do you hear me? Okay, my internet is unstable. Oh, please stay, internet, stay with me. Because the circumstances living here in the United States last year, the whole election year, I got triggered for a few months in my mind and here behind closed doors with my husband and my boys. I'm embarrassed now looking back. For a few months, I was talking with polarizing rhetoric. I was triggered. I was judging left and right. Yeah, who are the stupid people? Who are the intelligent people? Who are the right people? I admit it. I was fallen into that. And because of that, and realizing this is not who I choose to be as a Juicy Life leader, and I want to embody what I teach, I did a bit of digging and research, and you will learn next week. It's simple. It's simple, but it starts, as you, Christiane, so beautiful said, with connecting with ourselves and self-awareness, and also realizing and admitting what are the triggers or situations which are dangerous for us. And for me, it's the moment since 4 or 5 years now, it's literally every evening we watch the American news together, my boys, my husband and I, and watching the American news is always a great brain training for me to either fall into polarizing trigger judgments or to take a deep breath, reconnect with my heart, and make a clear choice for what I take a stand for. And I take a stand. And when you are on my email list, you read this in every email. What do I end every email with? Who is on my email list? What is my standard ending? Anyone here on my newsletter? Linda, my dear, I haven't heard your beautiful voice today. Can you talk? Do you know what I end every email with? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh, goodness. I do, but now that you're asking me, I can't do.
I apologize. I didn't want to put you on the spot. I tell you, because I love saying it. Let love lead.
Yes.
It's so simple. That's my stand. Let love lead. And then, because I got pushback, this is the thing. When you take a stand, you get pushback. So I had some people answering me, Sylvia, you are an executive coach. You work with corporations. This whole love talk, is it because you moved to California? Are you now a hippie? People ask me that. Did you go now cuckoo, California, and too much sunshine, too many palm trees? Are you now a hippie? Let love lead. Who do you think you are? Don't you worry about your branding and your image on LinkedIn, talking about love? That pushback, I'm so grateful for all of that, because it made me add one word. After my little sentence, let love lead, period, I added the word always, period. And that is my taking a stand. I mean that. I mean that, always. And no exception. No exception. And I know last year during the election and pandemic and my own PTSD anxiety triggered, I had a few weeks where I was fighting in myself to get to a place of love, because I was so outraged about so many things here in the United States that my righteous ego in me was on the soapbox every day. In my mind, you have no idea, and you're glad you are not in my mind sometimes. You have no idea how outrageous, judgmental, monsterish I was, spitting, polarizing comments in my mind. But I'm thank God out of it.
Sylvia, the media itself is so polarized. You know, the news channel, one says something, the other says something. So, and that is the reality across the globe, you know, the major news channels. So they actually influence you to be polarized, especially in situations like presidential elections and, you know, when something important is going on in the political arena. So that is a source of polarization as such.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because I'm disappointed by the media. I say it out loud here. I hope someone from the big media watches my replay on YouTube. I'm disappointed by you, because I believe that for me, media and journalism is equaling to public education, to research, to investigation, to get into the background of news. And especially, I can't talk for all media in all countries, but the majority of media in the United States completely lost that. And
Absolutely.
it became aware to me a few years ago when I lived here as a German in the United States, and I started to, after I watched the news, the American news with my family, then we went onto YouTube and watched the replay of the German news of the day. And I suddenly realized German news is way more boring than American news. We don't have big, flashy red lights, urgency and sirens in the background. And the speakers, the facilitators don't look like Hollywood supermodels and the guys all looking like Brad Pitt or so. No, they are more subdued. They sometimes even robotic, sometimes even boring. But hey, it's about information. And the news are not getting repeated 3, 4, 5 times because our news are not getting interrupted by 5 ad breaks or something. And then when they talk, and this is something especially with all the refugee and crisis around Syria, oh my gosh, when I watch German news, they give the news what happened, and then they have a 2-3 minute prepared educational video clip teaching you about the history of the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, which led up to that crisis, so that you, the viewer, can understand what the news you just heard meant.
Oh, that's fabulous.
I was so shocked a few years ago when I saw this in comparison, because American media don't do that. So this is here a bit of a taking a stand. You, American media, you have completely lost it. For me, you are responsible for public education, investigation, research, etc. And you lost it. You are part of a polarizing political machinery, and you lost all ethical credibility in my eyes. Period. And I said it. And
we used to be like that, Sylvia. 50s, 60s. Do you guys agree, or anybody else from
when did it change? When did it change, and why did it change?
I'd say 80s.
In the 80s?
90s for sure, because several different people were supporting with far right agendas, were supporting people to go out and say all these things and start supporting these other news outlets. And that's where it started. And then it just kept rolling on. About 40 years, I'd say.
Okay, I will do a bit more research. I don't want to take over here today's topic, and we have a global audience, and obviously not everyone is interested in.
That's why I looked
what's
around
going
and
on in the United States.
Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
But I will dive into that, because I would love to change that. I mean, there are a lot of things in the world. And this is the other thing with taking a stand, going back to our start. People ask me often, okay, so and what shall I take a stand for? So I hope you take away that the most important thing first is taking a stand, which means stopping to be a drifter. And then different people are called to different things. I, for example, I'm honest, I'm not called to protect animals, the whales or the nature tree. It's just not my thing. But I'm sponsoring, I'm giving money every month. I'm a tree sister. I'm donating money for reforestation, but it's not that I will educate myself and speak on that behalf. It's not my thing. But when it comes to education and information, the media, I don't know yet how, but that is something where I intuitively, my body, my heart feels called to. So my point is, it doesn't really matter for what you take a stand. It's important that you take a stand and that it's aligned with your heart and your dreams and your values. If it's aligned with that, then you can't go wrong. The problem is if you are still a drifter and you are taking a stand for what your CEO wants you to take a stand for, or your dad or your mom wants you to take a stand for. If you take a stand for because you have a pressure ring around you from a certain group and you are now repeating what they told you to say, then taking a stand becomes a problem for your own inner integrity. And that can lead to physical health issues, because when you are in discord and dissonance with your own inner compass, this is where people develop ulcers and cancer and other horrible diseases because you are at war with yourself. If you are taking a stand for something which is against your values, I don't want to be in your body. The body is the battlefield. The body is a battlefield for polarization and for you if you take a stand for something which is out of alignment with your values and who you are. We are over the hour. Thank you so much. That was very intense here for me today. That's such an important, close to my heart topic. I would love to hear one or two voices. What are you taking today with you? For example, Jennifer, my dear, would you like to share something? Or Mickey, I would love to hear your voices. Jennifer, my dear.
I appreciate the topic today because actually I do have to prepare an email that is rather difficult and it does involve taking a stand. So trying to be very cautious in my tone to, not come across as angry or upset, but really very neutral. And so this has been very helpful and timely.
When do you write the email today?
Yes. So I'll write it and step back, to make sure it's not emotional or, and yeah. I may even sleep on it. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I give you two tips. First tip is definitely sleep over it because your body is your seismograph. Is that an English word? The machine which can sense if there's an earthquake coming or not.
Yeah.
So overnight, your subconscious mind, your brain is literally working on the email. And when you then read it again after you slept, you will sense in your body like a seismograph. Is that an earthquake-inducing email? Is it too intense, too harsh, or not? So I definitely recommend you sleep over it. And I want to give you one tip of our content from next week, because now I feel a bit bad that we didn't get to it. Avoid generalizations in your sentences where you put either a topic or a group of people into all in one box. So any kind of phrasing with every blah, 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 or all the time, da, da, da. So any kind of generalization of topics or people or time you should avoid.
Okay.
Because that is part of the polarizing rhetoric. And that is where people instinctively fight against, even if they are agreeing with your topic you're writing about. If you make a generalization, it triggers pushback. And factually, this is the interesting thing, generalizations are never true. Because there's always, if you look deep enough and careful enough, there's always minimum one or two exceptions. Yeah, I mean, if we would look carefully enough, I think even Trump might be a nice guy if I would look deeply enough into his life. I mean, maybe when he was 6 or 5, requesting love from his... No, Linda, I give him the doubt. Everyone has a moment where they are just a sweet child longing for love. Everyone, even him. So generalizations are never true. And that's already part of next week's training. But Jennifer, I trust you will do great. Thank you for already using the training today in something specific. That makes me very happy because I don't want here to have a philosophical school. This is about your life and your work. Nikki, yes, our octopus leader in the European Alps. She, for those of you who don't know her, Mickey has 5 heads of leadership or more on her head. So tell me, what do you take from today?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity of saying something about this topic, because this topic was so important to me that I felt that I was not able to manage the leadership, that I decided to jump back from the management. So from the first line, I decided to jump back and work more in the back office, because I was not able to take the lead about what I'm going to say. So if I could receive feedback, I would be very, very happy and thankful. because as a manager of an hotel on the French Alps, what I experimented in managing the resources, so from a HR point of view, is that I worked a lot for the team building, and so the well-being of the staff was a very important issue for me. So in
one
terms
question, Mickey, hold the thought. One question. Shall I stop the recording so you can talk more freely?
No,
it's okay.
no, I'm free. If my experience could help someone else, I would be happy.
Awesome.
So my problem is that at the beginning, I started to offer my good attitude, my positive attitude, my interest for the others people of the staff well-being. So creating a good environment, trying to give the day of leave, so a rest for everybody in a good term, so vacations, so benefits, so all the things that could help in building a good environment. So I was trying to be not a friend, a good leader, but even interested on the others people needs. So this was taken if I was not a leader, but if I was more like a friend of the staff. So when I had to take the lead, and as I said in my comment, taking a stand in some important issue, then I experimented that the friends, the staff that were like friendly toward to him, changed completely the moods. So they were very angry with me. They treated me like very in a hard, rude way, because then they were not more interested in having me like a friendly person, because I was the leader. So I remained alone, and I was really alone. So I didn't know what to do, because or I was a leader, a good one, like if I was from their side, or I was not on their side. So my father, who was the ex-manager in a very hierarchical way, he said, you see that I told you that was not the good way to be a leader, because you have to be rude. You have to, all the things that it's not my style. But then I was in a position where I didn't have the answer to reply to him. So my wondering is still this, is like taking a stand, okay, let love lead always, okay, but then what's the good attitude to take lead, take a stand, and remain on your position without being, I don't know, and established from the others?
Yeah, I have my brain is like. So, Mickey, the people whom you are leading, just to get a 2-3 information, are they age-wise older or same age as you are?
No, even older, of course.
Older. And they are mainly women, men, or mixed?
Mixed, but mainly maybe men. Yeah.
Okay, and they worked already for the hotel under the leadership of your father?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're describing, and I apologize if I make now some assumption and project them onto your situation from my past experiences, and this is just here a bit of an artificial situation. My assumptions are the following. That this is a classic situation you are in, where, I mean, just father, daughter. So there's a generation shift. Then there is father, man, daughter, woman. There's a gender shift. And we have a group of people who were working already for the previous manager, the father, the man. So there is also a loyalty theme here, because people who grow up in the patriarchy and have a strong father archetype leader who leads in the old patriarchal way, they're trained in that. They believe in that. They feel safe with that, even if they don't like it, even if it sometimes hurts them, but they know it, they understand it, they trust it, they rely on it, even if they don't like it. This is a paradox. Even if it hurts them, they are loyal to that, because from a brain perspective, this is what they know. This is how the world works. The older fathers run the world. And now here she comes, the cute, beautiful young daughter, the girl. And now she is having a different style. She is not the fatherly, commanding around, patriarchal kind of authoritative leader. She is a caring, what everything you described, I call it caring leadership or servant leadership, where the leader puts him or herself into the service of the people they are leading.
Yeah.
People who are not trained to understand the paradigm shift, the shift in style, for a patriarchal-led employee, you are a wushy, wishy-washy, whatever the French English word for that is. You are like a softie. Yeah, you are not having you literally, you don't have the balls to rule. Yeah, you are just a soft, cute, sweet, kind, friendly, the girlfriend, the daughter of the former boss. We all know, maybe some of them even saw you growing up, depending how long they were working for your father's hotel and company. So the challenge for you is to not take it personal, because it's not about you. It's about people challenged who grew up inside the patriarchy, who don't understand. Literally, they don't understand that you can be a strong leader and caring and in service and nice. And probably also, I mean, French culturally, France is quite a patriarchal culture still. Yes, and in some aspects, there's an evolution towards women-men partnership, but culturally, it is still patriarchal, and you are a woman. So for a lot of your employees, that is also still something they need to get their head around. So I want to hold your back, literally, to stay your course with an alignment with your values, because otherwise you would suffer. And gather your courage to address these things. It's a bit like pointing out the pink elephant in the room. To honor your father, to tell, yes, my father led this hotel for, I make it up, for 30 years with a style da-di-da-di-da, and I honor him for doing that, and he made the hotel the size and the great brand as he did, and now I'm the leader. I am a new generation. I am a new gender, and I have a different style. So you just acknowledge that is a big shift. You just acknowledge it without making him, this is a part of the training for next week, without polarizing, without making him bad, without making his leadership style bad. Just, and this is the thing, different doesn't mean better or worse. And you can say that. My style is different from my father's. That doesn't mean worse or better, different. And I am now your leader. And this is what we are going to do. Da, 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 da. And yes,
maybe the authority, like say authority, it could be another kind of topic to discuss. How to be now, how can you can be a good leader and express your authority without being a dictator.
It's a good topic. Thank you. How to be an authoritative, how to express your authority without being an authoritative leader, because authoritative leader is an old kind of paradigm. And Mickey, just know, whatever you do as a woman, people have biases, gender biases in their brain. even if you were the most masterful, skilled, perfect leader, the most perfect leader in the world, as long people keep their biases, a woman can do exactly the same like a man. As long people have their biases, they perceive it differently. So I invite you also to not put too much pressure on yourself, that you need to do it perfectly. Because there's a part on the other side where they have to learn to go with the evolution of your hotel, the changes. And some people do, and some people will not.
Yeah.
And that you don't take that personal. You follow your heart. You let love lead, always.
Thank you.
Stay in integrity with that. Take the courage to acknowledge the pink elephants in the room without making the pink elephant wrong. Does that make sense? Does it help? Good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Sylvia?
Yes.
I put the name of a book in the chat for you. I don't know that anybody else would be interested because it's about, obviously, the United States, but how it all happened and why.
Yeah, Dark Money by Jane.
Dark Money.
Yes. I have it in my library. Peter already read it. I didn't yet, but awesome. Thank you for the reminder. I will pull it out. Dark Money by Jane Meyer. It's in my library. Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Wonderful.
Ladies, we have to close for today. Thank you so much. Thank you for staying at the start when I had my internet glitch here. Thank you for showing up. Christiane is so lovely. I mean, for those of you who, Linda, you don't know. So Linda is one of my newer friends. Linda is a friend from Michigan. Christiane, as you can see, is from Germany, my hometown, Düsseldorf, and super, 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 super old friend in the regards our friendship, not regarding your age. And Mickey, now I declare you a new friend of mine from the Alps. You're French, but it's an Italian part of the Alps, right? Because you have Italy here. So yeah, you need to please send me via email or put in the chat box or say it out if you like to, the webpage of your hotel. I would love to see where you are, and maybe after the pandemic, when traveling is safe again, my family and I, because we want to show the boys Italy, so we will come through the Alps. So maybe we can make it over there. So thank you everyone for joining here today. Thank you, beloved viewer of the replay. Please, please make sure to share the link to the video with as many of your friends and peers. This year is for the public. This is our community empowerment training. And for me, my community is global. This is so exciting. I'm so grateful for modern technology. And if you want others to be able, and yourself, to be live here with us, to have interaction and make globally new friends, please join us. It's free at juicylifeleader.com/free training. And the link to that is also in the comments below the video here on YouTube. Subscribe to our Juicy Life Leader TV channel. And I see you next week. And some of you inside the Juicy Life Leader Academy or in our Compass training, which we have next week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm stopping now here.